none of it's ever true, and so there's no point in responding.
Right.
But they ran a story, and it ran in the Boston Herald that Casey and I did not wear our Red Sox hats into Yankee Stadium during the playoffs. And I called Jen immediately, and I was like, "This shall not stand."
It's breaking bread.
And scene.
How are you doing?
I'm good, man. This is the final interview. Of this little press run for the Instigators. Yeah.
Beautiful. A toast.
A toast.
A toast to you.
Thank you.
I can't believe you're making movies. In a time when no one's making movies, you guys are making movies. And fun movies. This is a great movie.
It's fun, yeah.
It's really fun. This is the kind of movies, like you guys are making the movies that they don't want to make anymore, which are just fun, adult, funny, action, whatever kind of films.
Yeah, I mean, our North Star for this one was Midnight Run, which is an absolutely unattainable masterpiece. But, I mean, that movie is a Swiss watch. It's like so perfect. But
is that your favorite movie?
It's up there for sure. Yeah, for sure. It's right at the top. And in terms of movies that I've seen more than every single actor in that movie is so good. And it's just I love it. So yeah, I mean, you always start out with that, it's like every movie, it's Butch and Sundance. And then,
I remember being drunk in your kitchen one night and going, "We should just make Midnight Run." Yeah. And you were like, "Yeah, okay." How are you going to do that?
It's like, "Okay, boomer. Let's just go make Midnight Run."
I'm like Charles Grodin, aren't I?
Oh God, they're so good in that movie. But we ended up with this movie. It's really fun. It's really funny, and
it is,
and it moves really quickly. And, I'm really happy with how it came out.
I love movies that are just about people who don't know what they're doing.
Right. It's always fun to watch.
It's always fun to watch.
Who has absolutely no idea what they're doing.
Yeah, like even the people that are kind of like in charge in this movie, that are like, the badasses, even they're making mistakes.
Yeah, that was, so we originally, we talked about even moving it into the 90s when there was more of an organized crime element, or because we were like, there's no real... Yeah, the organized crime is pretty disorganized now, and but then we were like, well, wait, why don't we just have fun with that? Like the two big bosses in the movie are like work at a bakery.
I know, which I was very happy to see.
Yes, a famous bakery in Boston too. But that idea of it allowed us to kind of make this world of, it's like a heightened reality, but it's kind of grounded.
Yeah,
still grounded.
Yeah, it felt very grounded to me. It didn't feel like.
Yeah, Doug Liman is so, the director is so good at kind of building a world and having a kind of a unified tone around his movies. I mean, Swingers was his first movie, then Go, then The Bourne Identity. Right. He's just done like Mr. and Mrs. Smith and Edge of Tomorrow, all these movies that are really unique in their tone.
Yeah.
But they're really entertaining and oftentimes really funny.
It is. This one's really funny. Last night when I was watching it, I just started writing down lines, just because there's so many great lines in it.
Yeah,
and it's so small. Like you're just playing it real, but it's really funny. Like when you're passing Casey off, you're like, you're gonna love him.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're gonna love him.
It's just these little small things.
Well, there are a lot of the actors. Like I couldn't, I think that's because of Doug. A lot of these incredible actors showed up to do like one or two scenes, and they elevated everything. Like everything these guys touch, they come in and they just make it so much better and so much funnier.
Yeah.
And then there was stuff that we just improv that we just, you have the template for the scene and you get it a few times and then you start just taking swings and seeing, and there's a lot of really good stuff that came out of that.
Right. It's so good. What are the odds that my scene that got cut out of air
could go in this movie? Ben's still really upset about that.
Is he?
No, because the scene was great. It was like, it really was a great scene. And where we fucked up was with the script. What ended up happening is we went with that moment where when I see the shot and I see him make the shot and I go in and I pitch Bateman and I'm like, this is greatness. From that moment on, Sonny, my character, can't be going to other people and going, do you think he's great? Right? Which is what that scene was.
Yeah. It
That
was
scene
me and you in a restaurant.
And I go to you, and you're the owner of Portland. And
Right.
I go to you, and I go, you're the GM of Portland. I go, why'd you pass on Jordan? And and it's this scene, and it's the kind of tense scene, between these two guys. And in the original construct of the movie, there was a whole kind of 20 pages where Sonny's kind of investigating what happened here. Why did he go third instead of first? And what am I missing? And am I missing something? Yeah. But when we landed on that scene where it crystallizes around him making the shot and wanting the ball in that moment, and he's a killer and all that stuff, that stuff just had to go. And so Ben was like, because the scene itself was so good. It's another very good lesson in the kind of the editing process. What they say is your hierarchy has to go movie, scene, moment. Right. And actors work the opposite way. Right. We worry about these moments, and then we turn it into the scene and then the movie. Right. But if you're editing the movie, that's your hierarchy. And so you will kill any great scene for a movie. You will kill any great moment for the benefit of the scene. Right. And that was a great scene that we had to kill.
We were really good.
We were fantastic.
We were really good. I even put on 2 pounds for the role.
I know. I saw that. I saw that extra 2 that you put on for us.
I was like, the night before, I was eating a lot of salt, and my wife was like, "Aren't you going to be filming tomorrow?" I was like, "No, this character, he wouldn't cut back on salt.
He would."
Yeah,
that's the kind of commitment we knew we would get when we hired Tom. But yeah, well, we'll put you in the next one.
Yeah, I've gotten so much mileage off of comedically talking about being cut out of a movie on my radio show that it was actually just fine.
Well, if it's any consolation, Ben feels fucking horrible about
That's
it.
good.
So, it's good to know.
It is good to know. I was going to do a gig last week in a city that I swore I'd never been in before, and when I was backstage after the show, the guy came up and he was like, "This was really good, even better than last time." I was like, "Well, last time?" He goes, "Yeah, you were here 2.5 years ago." I was like, "In this theater?" He's like, "Yeah, in this theater." I was like, "No." But that's just how many gigs.
I think that's also our age. Like, I've noticed that, like, I can remember shit that happened 30 years ago, but like last year's tougher sometimes. Like you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I can have full experiences or meet somebody. Like
I know,
yeah.
Did that happen?
I think it's starting. We're at the age where that shit is.
It's not just reps.
It's not. No, I don't think it's just reps. I mean, that doesn't help for sure.
Do you ever catch yourself like on cable or something when you're flipping around and you're like, "What movie is this?" Or do you?
Somebody did a thing with me today where they were like, "Okay, here's a line from yours in a movie, and can you?" Or no, it was yesterday, and can you? And was challenging the other radio host to say, "What's his next line?" And then challenging me, and I'm like, "I don't know what I say next in that movie. Like, I have no idea." I haven't seen it or thought about it in a really long time, but it made me feel like, "Oh, how much of this stuff am I forgetting?"
Yeah. Does your brain just dump stuff like from roll to roll? Like
but I think it's at this age where it starts dumping more stuff unexpectedly.
Right.
Where you go like, wait, I should know that. Like
right.
And also years start to pass quicker. So suddenly you're like, why can't I remember that guy's name? And you're like, oh, that was 17 years ago.
Yeah.
That we did that thing. And God, it felt like just yesterday.
Yeah.
And I got to put it in a different category.
I remember we were doing a scene in The Informant, and we were in the back of a limo with Rick Overton, and it was just something was wrong, and they kept having to do it. And at one point, Rick goes, "We're going to be talking about this for years," and I was like, "No, Rick. You and I might be talking about this for years." Matt has done so many films at this point. Yeah. I don't think this one's going to really register.
Well, I'll tell you, that movie did. That's one of my favorite movies that I've ever been a part of.
Well, you were so great in that movie.
Everybody would. That's a really good movie. And
yeah.
And that and Air were probably the two most fun filming experiences that I had.
Really?
Just in terms of how much I had to do. So it was really like, there are other movies that have been great, but it's like there are a lot of days where you show up and all you have to do is walk through a door.
Right.
Like but those movies it was like constant engagement. It was like massive long scenes with other people, everybody having a bunch to do.
Yeah.
Choreographing, coordinating all that, and staying ahead of the work and staying on top of it was so full and busy, but at the same time so joyful.
Right.
Like we laughed so much on that set.
It was really fun.
Because Steven is just in complete control, always, like complete control.
Yeah.
And so you're never worried that you're not going to make the day, or you're not. You know what I mean?
It's no stress.
There's not that kind of stress.
Yeah.
There's the joyful stress of like, what can we do to make this the best version of what it can be, and it's just it's the most fun you can have making movies.
Do you? What have you gotten? What have you maybe surprised you or not surprised you? What have you gotten really good at as an actor that you would have stressed about 20 years ago? Like, what is it?
I think I can relax more.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're not it's not new, or
I'm not gripping the golf club as tightly. You know what
Right.
I mean, which never helped.
Uh-huh.
And the fear of loosening your grip is that you're not going to have a grip on it.
Right.
And the lesson is that that's actually the way to do it.
Right.
So I think I feel like I'm better at that.
Yeah.
I'm much less patient.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You want if people are messing with the lights or
Yeah, it's not even messing with the lights. It would be a director who doesn't know what they're doing.
Uh-huh.
I can't know more than the director. It just drive me crazy.
Yeah. That's
I
going to be
can't do
unusual at this point.
coverage.
You've been working with everybody.
Like, yeah, but coverage.
Coverage.
Like, make up your fucking mind.
I'm not giving you safety. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
No, but there's that mentality of just hosing it down with coverage, and you just go, well, that's not directing. I mean, a rhesus monkey could do that. It's the line in Argo.
Right.
Direct, a rhesus monkey could do that.
Yeah.
But it's true in that way of doing it, like versus Steven's way of doing it, which is just,
Yeah.
or even someone like Alexander Payne, who will do 40 takes of something, but the shot is going to be in the movie. Like,
Right.
I'll do as many takes as we need
Right.
for a shot that's going to be in the movie.
Yeah.
But not just I'm not sure, so let's just keep shooting. You know what I mean?
From
Like,
all different angles and just trying to.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's that kind of presupposes that what we can do, we can just do forever.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like the Stanley Kubrick way of shooting, where he would do 100 takes. Like that would be joy for me to do 100 takes of a shot that I know is going to be in the movie.
Really?
That's really fun to
to
try, because everyone's got to coordinate and everybody's got to, all the different departments have to work perfectly, and it's got to sit perfectly with his eye.
Right.
David Fincher's like that. Like Ben had a ball working with David, and David works, does numerous takes, but it's because he can't unsee what he sees. And so that's a very different thing from just not knowing what you want.
Do you think from doing it for so long that you have that? Like you could do that if you
I wonder if
go and direct.
if I directed. I mean, I want I can. It would be my first time directing. My guess is I'd probably cover a lot more than I would tolerate somebody else.
I mean, this coverage isn't so bad.
Yeah, no, I think we need it. I mean, it'd be good to have, But I think that, and I don't want to be less patient. Right. But I also I'm more aware of the time that we're wasting than I used to be. You know what I mean? I used to be like, well, it might be in the movie.
Yeah.
Rather than the director is not making choices the way a director should.
But I'm more patient in my life now at this age. Like I have a little bit more of things aren't that big a deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do you have that just in your everyday life?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I think hopefully a kind of a more of that older middle-aged calm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah,
it's
I can
really
definitely
just
relate to that.
if you can
Yeah.
sense incompetence, then it's going to drive you crazy. It's like when you go up to Starbucks and you're like really excited because you're the only person there. There's no big line at the airport or whatever, and and they take forever. And it's like, no, this is the goal. This was going to all work out perfectly. And it's like, no, someone's not doing their job. Who's not doing their job?
Well, I think what it is that there are other places I'd rather be. Like to work now is to be away from my kids. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And I see that, as our second daughter's on her way to college, and we've got 2 more daughters left.
Yeah.
Like I see that, there's a shot clock on that whole experience.
Yeah.
And if I'm gonna miss it,
it better be.
We should all be rowing in the same direction.
Yeah. Are you at a point now where you won't go take work like in some strange country for 6 months at a time?
Yeah, I haven't I did Oppenheimer, which was, Chris Nolan, obviously.
Never heard of that.
Yeah. So that was one, that's everyone in my house is a Chris Nolan fan. So that was an easy one to do.
Yeah.
But it was also a supporting role. So I went and came back and I was one of the first people on the film. So Chris protected in the schedule my kids' spring vacation so that I could go on a trip with them.
Right.
Which was amazing and really, really amazing. But yeah, I haven't. Other than that, I haven't left.
Yeah.
I haven't left New York.
Wow, that's great.
And I haven't worked in 15 months. I haven't shot in 15. I haven't shot since this one.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. We do a thing on this podcast called An Uncomfortable Moment, where
it feels like that was built for me.
Yeah. We do. We have our researchers go through, and if there's something that's kind of controversial, we'll bring it up.
Fantastic.
And do you need more water? Are you okay?
I'm all right.
All right, because you might after this. So you talk about living in New York and staying here and not going around and shooting and stuff, which is great and good family moment. And this movie takes place in Boston. You are Boston. You threw out the first pitch, right?
I did.
It was the other day. How'd it go, by the way? I didn't see the throw.
The throw was fine. I've never thought more about the mechanics of throwing a baseball while throwing a baseball.
Yeah.
I did it in 2004, and I just went out there and ripped it and just forgot about it. But there was such a build-up to this, and it was a Red Sox-Yankees game.
Right.
That I was real. By the time I did it, I think I threw a strike, though.
That's good.
But Casey and I threw out at the same time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we threw to 2 catchers.
Oh, nice. Were you better than Casey, at least?
I like to think I was.
Good.
Though Casey played third base on his Park League baseball team, but he had elbow surgery, so he was at a disadvantage. But we did batting practice, which was a disaster.
Whoa.
I couldn't see. I couldn't see the ball anymore. Like my eyesight is so fucking terrible.
So bad.
And it was so frustrating. I hit one to the warning track, but I didn't get it. I didn't get it though. Like I was like, I just want to turn on one. Like the last time I did it there, I hit a couple off the wall, and my kids were there. I just wanted to hit one off the wall in front of my kids. But it didn't happen.
Brutal. I can't golf anymore because I hit the ball and it's like, anybody? Anybody
you just can't see it? But that's good. That means your head's down. It should go straight.
I'm looking. I just can't see anything anymore. So yeah, you are Boston. Great thing at the Red Sox, but we dug this out of the archives, and I don't know if this is recent or if this is from a while ago.
That is the worst photoshopping job I've ever seen.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That is absolutely the light. That's worse than the Lee Harvey Oswald photoshopping. It's like my picture's taken at noon. The guy who's saying that, it's at night.
I don't know. This is clearly Yankee Stadium, and that is you in I think a Jeter jersey. And you are losing your marbles.
Yeah,
you look like a super fan. I don't know who your friend is next to you, but
I know who is that guy punching me in the arm. Actually, we went in 2004. Casey and I went to I think it was game 2 of the Yankees Red Sox, and there we were just talking about this today because my publicist Jen, who we've been working together for almost 30 years.
Wow.
I never respond to stories. I just whatever story, stupid gossip, rumor, none of it's ever true, and so there's no point in responding.
Right.
But they ran a story, and it ran in the Boston Herald that Casey and I did not wear our Red Sox hats into Yankee Stadium during the playoffs.
During the playoffs.
And I called Jen immediately and I was like, this shall not stand. She's like, you're responding to a story? I was like, no, listen to what the story was, because I was getting calls from Boston. The Boston Herald has suggested that Casey, how dare they? She was like, and she's a Yankee fan, so she was like, ugh. It was like brutal for her to have to call them. But we got a correction.
You had
one.
Yeah,
we got a written correction. I'm very sorry. They wore their hats. So.
When we first met on The Informant, our characters were a little antagonistic, and we didn't know each other at all. And I'm a Yankee fan, and I was like, I don't know if I should wear my Yankee hat around Matt. If we're going to become pals, I probably shouldn't wear it. But I was like, you know what? For our characters, we should be a little prickly. And there was a cocktail thing happening at one of the bars, which was
the hotel bar.
Which was every night on The Informant. And I wore it. I wore my hat down, and you came in, and you did clock it. You were just like, huh. And I was like, but I want you to know how dedicated I am to the art.
I like that.
I was willing to...
What I loved about that character that you played and that relationship was he's like the one guy who always sees right through Mark. What he's like, Mark,
what are you doing?
Mark, fuck it, just don't like that guy. Something's fucking wrong with that guy.
It was so funny. Are you watching the Olympics?
I haven't watched a lot
because
I'm running around doing this, but I'll start watching. After tonight. We got the premiere tonight, and then I'll dig in. I'm a sucker for it though, because they do the human interest story, and I don't care if it's fucking badminton. I'm in.
It's so good.
Yeah. Like what these people just the commitment to get there. It's awesome. Yeah.
I have a pitch I want to do for the LA Olympics.
Midnight Run.
After I make Midnight Run, it's Tom Papa Average Olympian, where you watch them do the 200-meter backstroke, and you see what time they did and all that. And when you're home watching, you're like, I wonder how I would do in that. And then I, as a representative of the regular people, go in the pool and do it. And then you get to see like what an average guy
would really take. That's a great idea.
Would
actually.
take.
That's a funny. I mean, I would totally watch that.
Right? It's a good idea.
Yeah.
In the 100.
Casey had the idea to promote this movie because the movie's about these fucking knuckleheads who try to pull off a heist and they just don't know anything, and it goes about as well as you can imagine. Casey was like, "What if we went to the Olympics and challenged Olympians at their events?"
I could do it.
What would it look? It's kind of like your idea. Like, how long would it take us to run 100 meters?
It would be great.
13 seconds.
Oh, please. 13. Forget it.
So that was kind of Casey's idea. Apple didn't bite on that one.
He
came up with this idea. He's like, what if you and me played doubles tennis against the Williams sisters? He's like, what do you think would happen? I was like, 6-0, 6-0 would happen. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly.
We would get rocked, but it was a funny idea.
Even badminton, I was like, I could probably do badminton. Forget it.
No way.
They're so fast.
They're so good.
So good. I don't know. I think maybe I could do BMX because I was pretty good at jumps and stuff when I was a kid.
BMX in our 50s?
Yeah, on those little bikes. They don't do that. They're like, oh, look, my handlebars went this way.
I see. You're like Casey. You should talk to Casey because Casey's convinced. Somebody asked him what Olympic sport he could medal in, and he really thought about it. And I was like, "You're such a fucking idiot. You couldn't medal in anything." And he finally was like, "Curling." I feel like, and I was like, "You just offended all of Canada." Curling has got to be so much harder than you think it is. You don't know anything about curling. Like, why do you think you can medal in curling? I just think if you really practice.
That's how I feel with BMX. I'm like, I can go over a jump. What about speed walking?
Average Olympian on a BMX bike would be amazing.
Would be in the hospital.
Because he would be in the hospital. Yeah, no, that's what you do. That's the sequel to Tom Papa Average Olympian is Tom Papa Average Olympian at the X Games. Just in the half pipe. We'd have to bubble wrap you and send you in the half pipe.
Trying to get momentum. I can't even go fast enough to get up
just
the
for the
other
landing
side.
because it would be so gnarly.
In swimming, just like grabbing onto the rope, taking a break.
It turns out the 200-meter backstroke can be completed in a half an hour.
He keeps zigzagging. Casey's so good in the movie.
Yeah, he's great. He's great.
He's so good. He wrote it?
He wrote it.
Did you write it too? Or?
I mean, we all worked on it, like in
Yeah.
pre-production and stuff. We changed it a lot, but Casey and this guy Chuck MacLean is another Boston writer, wrote it.
Okay.
And then he sent it to Lucy actually, who read it. My wife read it, and she loved it, and she was like, "You should do this movie." And I read it, and I agreed. And,
Right. It's really well written.
It's really well written,
Yeah.
and it's very Boston. Like they really understand that those
Of course.
those characters, and that kind of sense of humor and sensibility. And
Yeah.
and Casey wrote this incredible part for himself, and then he wrote a part for me in a comedy, the part of a guy who doesn't speak, and his one characteristic is he never smiles. He never laughs once in the movie. That's his thing, and it's like a runner. Like, wow, you never. What is it going to take to make you laugh?
Yeah.
So that's who I get to play in the fucking comedy.
You got funny lines though. You got a lot
yeah.
of funny lines.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could see though you probably had him rewrite a bunch to make sure that your part was okay.
Well, just to make sure it was the right foil for his character. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It was
It was
the
great.
right. It was definitely the right pairing.
That car chase thing, without giving anything away, is Blues Brothers-esque.
Right. Yeah. It's a lot of
There's a
smashes
lot
and-
of cars going down, and there's a lot of funny happening in it.
Well, that's the thing about Doug. So when we did like the Bourne Identity,
Yeah.
for instance, all of the action comes out of the character. The characters drive the plot and not the other way around. And so all of the, and this is exactly the same philosophy, which is there's this big car chase going on, but during the car chase, my psychiatrist is sitting shotgun and Casey's in the back seat. And she's trying to do therapy on me while I'm in my first ever high-speed car chase and don't know what I'm doing. And Casey's in the back figuring out that she's a psychiatrist and not a surgeon, even though she just operated on his shoulder. And so all that stuff is, so the movie is kind of, the momentum of it kind of picking up and going forward while, there's this Blues Brothers, cars smashing into each other and
So great.
everything in the back.
And the music, change the song.
Change the fucking song.
It's so good.
Yeah. That was all in Casey's script.
That's great. So what do you mean though that like it all comes from the character? Like if you guys don't have all that great dialogue, it's just
another
plays
car.
flat.
It plays
It's just-
flat, and it's just the action, and it's
Right.
the car chase, and all of that stuff. Like I always it's for Dan Bradley, who's a great second unit director. He did some of the Bourne movies. He used to talk about the French Connection, and he goes, the greatest car chase in movie history is in the French Connection. And he
Yeah.
goes, and if I did that, what technically they did in the French Connection, I would be fired. Like there is nothing. If you look at the actual car chase, it was just that you're in the car with Gene Hackman. He's slamming the wheel, and you're just like, it's so great.
Right.
And so the philosophy on all those Bourne movies was, how are we furthering the story with this? What is, like in the first one, in the one Doug directed, the Bourne Identity, Bourne doesn't know that he can drive a car at high speeds in that situation.
Right.
And the cops are pulling up behind him. Franca decides to stay with him, and he's going, you got to get out of the car. And she's going, I feel safe. And she just buckles her seatbelt. And it's like, okay, they're going to be together. And
Right.
now the cops are getting out, and he pulls out a map. And he just very calmly looking at this map. And he doesn't know if he knows how to drive a car. And he just says, do you take care of this car? And she goes, what? And he goes, the tires felt a little splashy on the way over here. And literally, that's all that. And then they just take off and they rocket. And it's this incredible. And the Parisian motorcycle cops are known for just being badasses. Like,
Yeah.
you can't shake them. And he's got all these cops. He ends up using the small car, going down an alley that barely fits. But the motorcycle cops, he loses the cars, but now the motorcycle cops are. And he eventually loses all these guys. Pulls into a parking garage and stops. And Doug just has us in this two-shot, like through the windshield. And he's kind of like breathing, and he looks, and he's at the spot on the map that he determined back at the train station when the whole thing is starting. It's like, and he's still trying to figure out how he knows how to do any of this shit. But he just says stop, and there's this pause, and then he just looks at it, and he's kind of embarrassed because it went really well, and it means he also knows how to do that. But that's a pretty illegal what he just did. And he just says, you can never come back to this car. Like, we're going to wipe it down. We're going to take everything you need. We're never coming back to this car. And she's like, okay. And like that. So it's all moving their relationship forward in their thing. But in the context of this really interesting car chase where he uses the advantage of that car, which was a Mini Cooper. Right. Which you're like, the last fucking thing you want to be in a chase in. Yeah. But he uses the Mini Cooper because it's small. He drives it in certain places. Yeah.
It's funny because it's a... there's that moment when you guys look like you're in trouble in this one, and the path kind of clears for a second, and you could see like you're trying to figure out like your life in that moment, and then go for it. Right. It's really it's it's the opposite of the Bourne shit. Like Bourne just goes for the next best option aggressively, and Rory, the guy I play in this, has just no fucking idea what he's doing. Right, exactly.
But it works out for him.
Yeah. But he's such a good guy. You like root for these guys. Like both of them, like you really are rooting for them immediately. Like you identify with them in a way. Like
well, I think it's that thing. If it's a heightened reality, it's a comedy and all that stuff. Yeah. But like it's grounded in the sense that like this guy has a debt. He's in debt, and he feels like he can't see his kid because he's in debt, and it's like that's a relatable thing. You know? If there's political corruption in the movie, I think that's nobody's actually playing real people, but it's all feels like the world that we live in 2024.
How much, just as an acting thing, because we don't know that information of why you're doing it for this amount in the beginning, but we know that it's kind of noble. We know that it's a thing. Right. How much of that is just the writing and just staying out of the way of it, and how much of it is it, so you're kind of carrying it as an actor? Like, do you have? Is that a complicated thing?
No, I know what you're asking. It's. I think a lot of that, you just play it honestly, and you don't want to get in the way, right? In any of the, I think as a younger actor, you want to show off more probably. But the reality is, like a novel, you don't want to get in the way. It's about what the audience feels, not about what you feel. It's not about showing people that you're feeling this thing. Right. It's about them feeling it, and so so you just kind of try to live it, and you're kind of a cipher for them. But the script sets up the dilemma, which is that this guy's in therapy. He's clearly he's kind of at the end of his rope. Yeah. He's got a therapist who clearly cares about him and is very conscientious, but he's willing to try something kind of crazy. Yeah. And I think that setup, like, because it feels grounded, he's clearly a seemingly honest guy. You're that's your way in as an audience.
Well, I think that's a tribute to you in your acting also, because if it's a lesser actor, you could be kind of winking to the camera a little bit in a way of like, it's almost like I remember hearing Garrison Keillor talk about Prairie Home Companion. He would talk so quietly, and he said that when people asked him, why do you talk so quietly? And he said, because the audience needs to hear you, and they kind of lean in. Right. They want to know. Yeah. And it's almost like that. Like your opening scenes in this film are like, you want to know, because you're not you're not hamming it up. You're not giving it away.
Well, it's also like, well, this isn't a comedy. Like, whoa, what's going on? Right. And then it pretty quickly picks up. But setting it that way with therapy, it's funny. It's a very pro-therapy movie. Ultimately, like my psychiatrist ends up coming along on the, and trying to help us, because she basically does this very semi-reckless, semi-selfless thing where she realizes that our best chances of surviving and not hurting anybody else are if she comes along, and so she's like actively trying to do therapy on me, in all of these crazy situations. culminating with, she's wearing a bulletproof jacket, vest, and a bulletproof helmet, and she's still trying to do therapy, and finally has a breakthrough with me. So like it's obviously a heightened reality, but again, grounded in the sense that I think we all believe that, that's how you work stuff out, is working
really,
through it. You know?
All as Casey's trying to hit on her.
Right. Exactly.
Here's a cool thing, and I don't know if you recognized it in the beginning or if you had kind of like heard this. The guy who hires you, played by Michael
Stuhlbarg. Yeah.
How's it say his
Stuhlbarg?
Stuhlbarg. Great actor. I love him.
Great actor.
Oh my God.
Great actor.
Broadway Empire, Boardwalk Empire, and Serious Man. I mean, just the minute he showed up, you were like, oh my God, this guy's so great. And In Your Honor with Cranston.
With Cranston.
So good. He's so good. But I was like, who's he remind me of? Like right off the bat, he's got this full beard, and it's Robin Williams.
Oh, right.
Did you feel that or get that? I mean,
well, he plays a guy.
It's Goodwill Robin Williams.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that
way.
Because his energy. He came in. He was so something entirely different and complete, and like a complete version of that it never dinged me until you just said it right now.
Really?
Oh yeah, he does look like Robin did in that movie, but there was such a lack of the kindness and sensitivity that Robin had. Right, their energy was so entirely different.
Yeah,
that they didn't look like the same thing to me.
They didn't look, but
physically they do. You're right.
And there's something behind his eye. Even his character, like he's scary, but at the same time you're trying to figure out what he's about, because there is.
But that's the thing, that like great actors, and he's one of them for sure.
Yeah,
show up and just elevate everything.
Yeah.
And we had these like Michael and Toby Jones, Paul Walter Hauser, these incredible actors show up and do very small parts. Just because I think they wanted to work with Doug. And that just makes it. There's a bit at the end. I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but at the end when she's doing therapy on me, that we just kind of did on the day, where Toby Jones comes over and he just started pouring himself a drink in the middle of his therapy session, and it was so funny. And I say, I have this big breakthrough, and I say, I don't want to die. And there's this long kind of meaningful pause, and Casey raises his hand and goes, I also don't want to die. and then Toby goes, I also don't want to die. And Casey goes, you're not a part of this, Alan. He's like, Alan, you're not a part of this. And that was just like, again, it was just because Toby did something that made Casey did something. Right, Toby did something, and it's just that thing that you get when great actors are put in the right circumstance, and then they can play it out.
So with Michael, like, is that, or all of them, is that just being really professional or really open? Like
both.
To walk onto the set and be like, well, this guy's changing what's about he's going to change our day.
Yeah, it doesn't really change the day. I mean, the setup's the same. That like Alfred Molina came in, and he cut all of his lines, and goes, no, it's funnier if I come in at the very end of the scene and go, I got donuts.
Right. I just make the donuts.
You got donuts. Right. And he did it, and we all laughed, and we were like, yeah, that's right, that's funnier. But it's that just understanding. There's a bit of writing to it, right? And with a lot of great acting. I'm sure I told you that story about Jack Nicholson saying that to me years ago. Yeah. Because I never would have made it this far if I wasn't a great fucking writer. Right. And it was like, oh, of course, the big and little ways in which you change, or do what Alfred Molina did, cut. It's better if I don't say that line. Yeah. It's better if I don't. What if I do this instead? And you get 10 really good people doing that, and then you've got a really good ensemble.
Yeah. When I looked up, when you never have that thing when you're like, who's that guy remind me of? And then it hits you, and you're like, yeah. Right. And it's just bothering you for a while, a beat, and it was the Robin. I'm like, oh, it's Robin Williams. He has a Robin thing to him, like in the later years with the beard. Yeah. And I just looked Michael up just to look him up on, and one of the first images was he could play a great late year Robin Williams. Yeah. So it was like on the
no, for sure. No. Now that you say it, it's like it's so obvious. Yeah. But But I'm saying I didn't see it to speak to the kind of the greatness of both of those guys.
Yeah.
They can look identical, but come with such different energy that like I look at them as entirely different things.
Yeah.
And don't even see a correlation.
Right.
Yeah.
How much do you miss that Robin Williams isn't on our planet at the moment?
Yeah, man.
He was so special.
Oh, it's a weird one because it's like he had the most incredible brain.
Yeah.
Really.
Right.
And that's what ended up betraying him.
Yeah.
You know, and
yeah.
I don't know if you were told you would get that brain, you know, but you would have to leave early.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I bet most people would take it.
Yeah, I think so.
Because it was really something.
It was really
And
something.
it brought a lot of joy to a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah, I think most would take it.
I mean, he just was, and very quiet and shy and serious.
Mm-hmm.
Serious about his work.
Yeah.
But it was weird. I was talking about him the other day, and what a weird thing to. I mean, you must deal with this too. When you walk into a room, people expect you to be funny. Mm-hmm. They expect you to make them laugh right away when you walk in off the road.
Right.
And he was the biggest movie star in the world at the time, and known for being the funniest guy, and just, you know, I can't imagine what that is like to. Mm-hmm. And yet he had that brain that just went tangentially in kind of any direction, and you know. He would be really quiet and serious, and you'd say something, and bing, suddenly it would trigger something, and he would suddenly be doing an impersonation of something. You go like, where the fuck did that come from? And it would be so funny.
Yeah, that head was just constantly going.
Yeah.
I only met him a couple times here at the Comedy Cellar, and it was the quiet moments that I realized how active that brain was, because he was just sitting there trying to like kind of blend in and just be with it, and people would say stuff, and he would almost mutter funny stuff.
Right.
He would just be like, it was just kind of like still going, not for anybody. It was just falling out.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, man. I just remember. I think we were together in Costa Rica when he left.
Oh,
it was 2014.
That's right.
And. I do feel like I was so confused, so completely baffled, because I hadn't seen him.
Yeah.
I'd seen him the year before, but I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah,
and
then it seemed like nobody did.
It was comforting to hear that he had Lewy body dementia. You know, it was comforting to hear that, his brain was rebelling against his body, basically, and he felt like, you know, it had been hijacked and he needed a reboot and I'm comforting in the sense that, because I couldn't have made sense of it in any other way, because then it made sense to me, like, of course you're basically in a house that's on fire and you got to jump out the window,
right?
But because he was so positive and loving and kind and loved his kids and he was such a role model for me that it didn't make sense until I heard that, and then it made total sense.
Yeah, because you don't want someone who's filled with that much joy and love to go out that way. You're like, no, but wait, if you can't do it, then how can I do it?
How can anybody do it?
Yeah, but then to know, that answered a big, calmed everybody down, I think.
Yeah.
God, what a soul, too. That's the other crazy thing, that crazy brain and that big, just gregarious love bomb that came out of him.
Yeah, he certainly loved us and gave a lot of love to us.
Yeah.
But it seemed to me like he loved everybody.
Yeah. So beautiful.
Yeah.
When we were in Costa Rica and I was trying to learn to surf, and I fell on the surfboard and bruised my rib. I think it was broken. I just want you to know that it really was almost broken, because then I didn't participate in surfing the rest of the trip, and I felt like you guys thought I was being a sissy.
I feel like you were a little scared.
I wasn't scared.
I mean, Matt B was out there almost drowning every day.
He really was. Just getting pummeled, and I could have done, but I couldn't lay down on the board anymore.
No, I know. I know. That must have hurt.
You want to know something funny? Cynthia, my wife, wanted me to paddleboard. She loves activities. She wanted me to get on a paddleboard, and I don't want to do it. And then last summer, I finally gave in and did it. Fell again.
Hit the same rib. No way. Did you really?
Yeah.
Well, paddleboarding, if you do it on water where there's any chop at all, it's very, very difficult. If you do
no
it
tips. No one gave me any advice. They just sent me out in the ocean.
In the ocean?
In the
ocean.
ocean.
That's a terrible idea.
It was horrible.
You should We had one when we lived in Miami on like the intercoastal, like in dead canal. You can paddleboard forever and feel like a champ. But when you get in chop, no, that's
I literally. My wife said I was falling so much that it looked like I was kidding. Like I was just like falling, and then
it's so bad when you're in chop and you can't stand up. You know,
It's
I
so
remember
funny,
learning how to do it.
yeah.
You stand up and fall down. You feel like such an idiot.
like-
It just looks like you're doing a terrible bit. Like it's not even a funny bit.
No.
And you won't stop doing it.
he's hilarious.
yeah.
I was like, the lifeguard was looking up, like, is this really a thing? And then I broke. I messed up that rib. The good thing is I don't have to paddleboard anymore.
You don't have to do any board sports anymore.
No.
You're done. You're done.
I'm
You're
completely
really-
done.
I think we're getting to the age where we really can opt out of things now. We're not lacking adventure anymore.
No.
We're just being sensible.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I know. There's a lot of things I don't have to try.
I just don't have to try that. Do you
No.
think about that in those terms? Like I always used to think any life was kind of possible for me. Like maybe I'll just do that. You know,
Yeah.
maybe I'll do that. But now you're at the age where you're like, there's no chance I could do that now. It's too late.
I always thought I could run a marathon.
Right.
I could do the marathon one day. Yeah, not this year. I got something going on,
Yeah.
but I can run the
Just do it
marathon.
next year. I'll just
And I went for a run like a month ago. I was like, "There's no way that's over." Like the delusion of running.
the
a marathon.
delusion of running a marathon, but the delusion of wanting to run a marathon.
Oh,
is
yeah.
completely over for me. I ran a half marathon like 8 years ago, and was like, I finished, and I was like, now would I want to do that whole thing again right now? Nope. Never gonna do a marathon. Terrible idea.
I remember hearing about Kubrick. That Kubrick really loved to be at home working in his office and just knowing his family was around. And when I heard that as a younger man, I thought, well, it's kind of odd. Like, does he want to like hang with the family? Like, what is? And now I get it. It's like, yeah, I get to work, which is
Right.
your love, and then you have the other people around, which is your other love.
Right.
And then, that.
And they're all safe.
Yeah.
And everyone's
hear 'em.
okay. You can hear them in the other room. and,
Yeah.
It's peace.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, for sure. I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah. So when we go to the premiere tonight, I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Is there gonna be any food?
Excellent question.
Any snacks? Or
I
anything?
don't actually know. Is there food at the thing, or they usually do the food after at the after party, and they have people with plates walking around. It's at Jazz in Lincoln Center.
I love it.
So it should be pretty classy.
It is really nice.
Yeah.
I performed there once.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. And
It's a cool
that
space.
Theater,
Yeah.
It's a really cool space. And James Gandolfini was in the audience in the front row.
Oh wow.
And I'd never met him. And it was with a couple other people from the show. And anytime I would try and get a laugh, I would look over and see if he was laughing.
Did you get him at all?
Oh, yeah, I got
yeah,
him. Yeah. He grew up in the same town that Cynthia and I grew up in.
Oh, really?
Park Ridge, New Jersey.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, 5 years ahead of us, so we never met him.
Wow.
But, yeah. God.
I'm rewatching that with Isabella right now.
Are you?
Yeah, it's so fucking good.
Oh, it's so good.
It's just so good. They're all so good.
They're so amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. We do one other thing on this podcast. I bake bread and I like to cook, and we like fine wine and all that kind of stuff. But I'm also from New Jersey, and I like garbage. And we do a little taste test of whatever weird stuff I can find in a bodega.
What do we have?
I have. I never saw this before. It's a bag of shrimp crackers.
That is gross. Okay.
Have you ever heard of these?
I haven't. You know, I'm gluten free now, but I'll eat one for you.
You are gluten free?
Yeah, I just.
So no more. I can't give you bread.
I know. Can you believe that? Well, I can break it for every once in a while. If I'll break
Okay.
it for your bread.
All right.
I'm about to break it for fucking shrimp crackers. So clearly,
So you weren't gluten free before.
No, I got a new doctor, and we did a 3-month. We did no alcohol, dairy, caffeine, sugar, gluten.
Okay.
And when I went back to gluten, I definitely felt it. I didn't feel great. And
That was the one of all those things?
I'm not giving up any of the other ones.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me try a shrimp cracker. Did we have anything to wash this down with?
Yeah, can we grab
Oh, it
Grab him
smells
another water.
Fantastic. Yeah. You know, I'll tell you, it tastes exactly like it sounds. A shrimp cracker.
That is weird. You ever go
It's
fishing?
not good.
Not
It's not good.
Out of 10, I'd give it a 2.
I give it a 2.
Like when you ever go fishing as a kid, and you have like a bucket with bait in it, you're like, oh, that smells so bad.
It tastes like a bait cracker. You're right. It tastes like a bait cracker.
Oh, it gets weirder after you eat it.
Yeah.
It keeps getting weirder.
What's crazy is I'm
As you
wondering who's
breathe.
this for. It says shrimp crackers, and then there's writing in Asian, and then it says spicy flavor sabor picante. So it's like we are throwing this out to anybody who will eat them. It's like, so who are they for? Pretty much anybody in the world.
Anyone
We'll
dumb
take
enough,
anyone.
Anyone dumb enough to try this? Oh wow, that is
Yeah.
so weird.
That's
It's an endless array of stuff out there, though. It is amazing.
well, and it doesn't stop. This one, it just stays with you.
So how much better do you feel? Because you look slim in this film. I gotta say, you look good. You were in fighting weight, and you didn't have to be.
Yeah, and I dropped a few after that. I mean, got in much better shape when I did this thing. I wasn't working or anything. I just was.
You shot this before the.
I shot
Going
this,
off the stuff.
yeah,
Right.
and went off the stuff just this year.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I was relatively fit for this, and
Yeah.
then this new little health kick has been good.
Did it change your diet other than gluten?
Not really. No, I mean, I still don't eat refined sugar if I can. You know, I mean,
Right.
if there's like a birthday cake, oh, that's a big cheat because that's everything. you
Right,
know,
yeah,
it's
right.
Gluten, dairy, sugar, everything. But like,
Yeah.
maybe I'll do a little bit of that. But no, by and large, like trying
Yeah.
to lay off the sugar and gluten.
Remember, you and Scott Bakula were talking about how you stay in shape for your films and projects, and you were saying like I don't eat this, and I run like this, or I do these weights, and Scott was saying, yeah, I do. I go to UCLA and I run the stadium, I run the
yeah.
stadium steps, and I'm sitting there looking at you guys, and then and Scott goes, "What do comedians? What's the comedian's regimen?" And you go, "Cheeseburgers late at night." I'm like, hey guys,
But it is. I
do
mean, it's
stuff.
like you guys work late. It's like you. I mean, you guys. It's a tough racket. It's a tough racket.
you just
How often do you come and perform here, like at the Cellar? Like, are you still popping in and working?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just shot a new special.
Oh,
It's
really?
gonna come out in October. I just shot it a couple weeks ago.
How'd it go?
It was good.
Yeah?
In DC, yeah.
In DC.
Yeah. And
Why'd you pick
at the
DC?
Warner Theater. I just picked like favorite cities that I like to perform in, you know. And it was it went great. And then I'm kind of empty now, so I got to
You got to
fill up the
thing.
well
God, man.
as I go tour around and write and stuff. And I come to the live radio show here like every month and a half, about that, which is just like you did that show
Yeah,
years ago.
yeah.
It's like a little writer's lab. I just love.
Are you still
it.
doing Andy Rooney?
No, I haven't
No,
done Rooney
yeah.
in a while. Because then it morphed into this thing I was doing for Prairie Home Companion, where it was using kind of the same device,
Right.
but for like Out in America. It was called Out in America.
Out in America.
And I would do these Andy Rooney kind of thing of have you ever been in Boston and fallen off one of those boats? I have.
Right.
You know, that kind of thing. So I kind of burned it out during Prairie Home Companion.
Got it.
And I don't do it anymore. But it was really fun. Last night there was great new comics, like I put some newer comics that are, just about to pop. It was so great just to have like fun people you don't really know that well.
Yeah.
They just keep coming.
That's great.
They just keep
Well, I
coming.
feel like it's had a massive resurgence, like since, I mean, it's just Netflix and everybody's got these specials that are great and they're really popular. People watch them constantly. And so I think there's a younger generation of,
Yeah. It's amazing, too, when you just go online and you see people, just regular people on TikTok and stuff, being so funny.
Right.
Like, people are just cranking stuff out all over
their
own way. Like, J.D. Vance had that thing about having sex with a couch, and then boom, everybody's making videos.
Right.
Like, within 20 minutes, there's like great comedy bits out there.
Well, everyone's got a good camera and,
It's just insane. Well, this was great catching up. It's fun when you get to sit with a friend and just ask questions you can't really ask when you're hanging out.
Anyone is going to listen to this.
Well, probably not. But we got to hang out.
We got to hang out. This will go into the ether.
And eat shrimp crackers.
Yeah, shrimp crackers. That was my takeaway from
I think
today.
we got interesting stuff. I think we got some good insight.
Okay, good. I gave you everything I had.
Are you... So now you're going to go home, rest, and then go to the premiere, and then you'll be done? Will you get some time off?
Yeah, we're all going to the apartment, to the old apartment. Everyone's getting ready over there. So if you want to come over with Cynthia, come on over.
Really?
If you wanna come
Beforehand?
before the premiere, yeah.
Oh.
We'll all probably have a couple cocktails before the
Oh.
pregame.
Oh, that'll
at
be
my
fun.
old apartment. My old apartment, which do you know? I don't know if I told you this. Do you know who lived above me?
No.
There were my friend Larry Schulz and his wife Sandra lived above me, and they had these two kids, Greg and Andrew, and they would skateboard around. And I just my whole life I watched these kids grow up, and then subsequently got really. I watch comedians. I love to watch comedians and watch them online and stuff. And I really got into this guy Andrew Schulz, and found out a couple years ago. Met somebody who goes, "Oh, you grew up. My friend grew up in that building." And I go, "Oh yeah, Andrew. Oh yeah, Larry's boy. Yeah." I go, "What's he up to?" He goes, "He's a very, very successful stand-up comedian." I was like,
so weird.
And I go, "Fucking Andrew Schulz is Larry's kid."
That's so crazy.
So I'm in touch with him now. It's just this incredibly random thing that he grew up on the floor above me. I had no idea.
You wouldn't have heard of him until he became like a world famous comedian.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a fun thing.
Reunited you. Well, yeah, that sounds fun. Maybe I'll bring the shrimp crackers.
Oh God, we can make everyone try them. They'll be off air, so that their reactions might be a little more X-rated.
You're the best.
Thanks,
Congratulations.
man. Thanks for having me. This was
right.
a great way to close out the whole Instigators promo stuff. So.
All right. Go Instigators.